So today I have the pleasure of talking to Gary. Gary, please go ahead and introduce yourself and your company to the community.
Hi, Claire. It's good to be with you. My name is Gary Cooke, and I'm a graphic designer. And my company that I have now is called Brand Cooke. It's not the first company I've had. I set up my original company, my first company, 40 years ago in 1983. And I did that for I was with my partner for about nearly 30 years before I decided to sort of change my life and move out of London and do something different.
Nice. So there's a whole world of knowledge and experience there, Gary, to share
You could
with
say
us
that,
today.
yes, you could say that.
So how long has your new company been established?
Okay, well, I left London. I left my original company in 2011. So 11 years, 12 years. Yeah, it's gone fairly quickly, actually. And although I'd had a company before that, it was quite a steep learning curve because I was on my own rather than being with a whole bunch of people. And I started with, a whole bunch of confidence like you do, and thought all the world is going to come to me because I've had all this experience and all the rest of it. And I wasn't in London. And after about a year, I realized I had to work quite hard to get work, really. I couldn't just rely on a reputation as such, I had to sort of work at it.
Yeah, that building the brand and those relationships at the beginning. What would you say was perhaps one of the biggest challenges at that time?
Well, the biggest challenge was when I left my company, I decided I wasn't going to poach any of the clients at all. I wanted to start from scratch and also venture into branding, which I've always been very interested. Over my career, I originally started as an illustrator. Then the first 10 years of my business in the 80s, we did a lot of packaging, food packaging, drinks, toiletries, that sort of stuff. And then we got into a lot of corporate work, a lot of brochure work for banks and that type of thing. And I didn't enjoy it so much. And we did a lot of that. And that's why I decided when I went on my own, I wanted to sort of really focus on branding because it's something I'd always loved. And I've always been very interested in type design as well. And my skills have been I've always been a very hands-on designer. So that's what I set out to do. But obviously, I didn't have any clients, really. And I had to sort of slowly build them up. And I originally started working for a lot of startups because I'm near Oxford. I'm based in the Cotswolds. I worked for quite a few tech startups and startups who had really interesting IP and ideas out of Oxford University that had venture capital, and they had a really good idea, which potentially was worth zillions. And initially, they always needed a branding and a website to sort of put them out there to make them look bigger and better than they actually were at the time, because they were all startups. And some of them have gone on to do pretty big things, actually. So that was quite interesting. And that's when I started to sort of, my new business started to take off and I started to get more work. And there you go, yeah.
How interesting. Yeah, you're in that innovation center, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, one of the companies was actually the company that developed the vaccine.
Nice.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Vaccitech. I helped them with the branding. They had some branding done by for nothing. Basically, it was very cheap, and but they sort of liked it. So really, I had to sort of refresh it and make it look more professional. So it wasn't anything incredibly innovative as they were doing themselves, but it sort of made them look a lot more solid. I mean, I can't lay claim to sort of have anything to do with the success of the vaccine or anything, but yeah, it was an interesting project. Nice people to work with as well.
Amazing. So I just want to take you back a little bit to that point of sort of leaving London and the change of direction. What inspired you to start your own business?
Okay, well, obviously I'd done it before, but that's quite different. I was like 30 and, no responsibilities, more confidence than I really should have had, and we just winged it, to be honest. Back in the day, it was a bit like that. You had very little business acumen and you just went for it. The second time round, I'd just become a dad, actually, very late in my life, and we'd moved out of London already, so I was commuting and going in and out of London. I wasn't very happy in terms of the type of work we were doing, nice people and all the rest of it, but I was coming to a situation where I just had to do something else. I couldn't have done it for another 10 years, look back and think, what am I doing here, So it's an interesting story, actually, because I've always been very inspired by a lot of, obviously, big names in design. One of those was a very famous designer called Milton Glaser. I don't know if you know, but he was the guy who designed the I Love New York logo, okay? So which has been plagiarized and copied by everyone. And I saw advertised a week's course for professional designers he was doing in New York, right? So I thought, this looks brilliant. And at the time, I think he was about 81, so he wasn't a young guy anymore. And I thought, well, he's not going to do this for much longer. So I applied to get on this course, and there were students from all around the world, and they took about 20 people. And I got on this course, and that's when I decided, and I gave my company my 6 months notice. And literally the day after I left, I flew to New York and went on this course and spent a week with Milton Glaser.
Wow.
So
How amazing.
that was the start, so that was a great, a fantastic experience. And he was literally there all day. And I think that was the last time he ever did that course. So, I'm really pleased, actually, I went for it.
Wow, what an opportunity. Somebody with that knowledge and experience and that talent, and hence why we're talking today to share yours as well. What would you say has been one of your greatest successes so far?
You mean to do with work? You mean in terms of actual projects and things like that?
Yeah, within your business. Yeah.
I think one that I was very pleased with, actually. It was a very interesting project. It was 2000 I think it's 2017, 2000. My mind's a bit blurry, but it was to rebrand Virgin Trains East Coast. Okay, so Virgin Trains East Coast was a franchise that wasn't working, and they failed on everything they were meant to deliver. They'd failed on, and what happened is the government stepped in. Okay, there's a department, a very glamorous title, the Operator of Last Resort. Okay, and these groups of consultants and people are always there under the radar to step in if they have to rescue something, especially, and they've done it with the rail industry. It's happened quite a lot recently because they've just not been able to deliver, and they've not been able to make money, and it's been very, very difficult. And so I was asked, because I used to do a lot of work on rail projects, and I was asked to go in and talk to them about this, the potential of rebranding Virgin Trains East Coast to LNER. And we had to actually, it was all very, very top secret. So I designed it, put together a virtual team in London, and we had to do it in a very short period of time. But we had to design it and do it all without even knowing if it would ever happen. Okay, we had to do it in case it happened, and it did happen. And then we had to sort of run with it all. So that was a really fun project to do, very intense, but very rewarding because it happened so quickly. And there wasn't a lot of, because of the time, we didn't have a lot of time. We couldn't be going backwards and forwards and changing things, and was this quite right, that quite right? We just had to go with it, you know. So that was a lot of fun.
Wow, and I love that. I can feel the energy and the passion and with your creativity and the branding, and so I would imagine that there would have been a little bit of adrenaline through that project there
Yeah,
as
there
well,
was.
kind of.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, and I was literally I was traveling down from the Cotswolds every day to London on the first train, and coming back late every day. You know, I didn't even stay down there, so it was full on. But it was everyone. It was, you know, there were people looking at all aspects of running. Obviously, when you take over a railway, you just, the people there are all the same. You know, you don't change all the people, apart from maybe sometimes in senior manager top level. So they have to be on board with that whole process as well, you know. So there's a whole process of selling in the, you know, after it got to a certain stage, selling it into all the top people, Virgin, so they could actually then be part of LNER, you know.
Wow, what an experience. How would you say you have changed since being in your
The early
own
days.
new business? Yeah.
That's a very good question, actually. I think about it quite a lot, actually, because when I was younger, I was quite a hard taskmaster, you know, and I was very impatient. I still am to a certain extent, but I've mellowed a lot over the years, you know, a lot. And I used to be quite tough on people, and I could have been nicer, I think, you know. But I learned and I got better, and this, you know, I've kept touch with a lot of people who used to work for me who have done very, very well. And now I pretty much work on my own most of the time. I'm sort of lucky enough that I sort of adopted technology early on, so I can use all the software. And I've been very much always been an ideas person, you know, rather than look and feel. Look and feel is very important, but ideas are very, very important, the most important thing. And so now I work very much on my own, but I do collaborate with other people in areas. You know, I'm too old to start learning how to code, you know, even, you know, doing animation. It's just, I just don't have the time at the moment, you know. So it's a different experience. But I think people skills are very, very important, and making people feel valued who you work with. And I did do that in the end, you know, but in the early days, I was, you know, I think for some people it was okay. And if they were really strong, they could handle it, you know, but I wouldn't say I was a bully or anything, but, you know, I could have done it better, I think. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there's different levels of challenge, isn't there?
Yeah.
Versus trying to, yeah, I suppose, nurture. But the world's a different place.
Oh, the world is a totally different place, yeah. And I love that, actually. I love the fact that I've been in the industry such a long time, that I've seen so many changes, you know, because originally everything was done by hand. You know, you didn't have computers to help you. And now it's gone in the other direction, you know, with AI and everything. It's so totally different. But I've always been very keen to embrace, you know, be open-minded, embrace new stuff, don't get stuck in a rut, you know, try new things, and you know, have fun, because the most important thing is enjoying what you do. And that's, you know, I'm in a position where I do enjoy what I do, and I still love it, and I will always do it. Milton Glaser was working till he died at 92, you know, and he's a role model, you know.
Nice.
So there's
So
no
you,
retirement for me anytime soon.
well, in that case, how do you like to switch off?
Switch off.
Switch off from work? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I find it very hard to switch off. But I used to play a lot of golf, but I don't do that anymore. Since I became a dad, there was less sort of time to do that. I enjoy, to be honest, I enjoy doing very simple things. You know, I like good movies and books and stuff like that. You know, very simple pleasures, and I get a lot of pleasure from my work anyway. So it's not like work, you know. And if I've got a problem, or I've got a child, I've got something to think about, I'm always thinking about it in the background. But I think if I didn't have that, it's such a big part of my identity, if you like. If I didn't have that, I'd be, you know, I wouldn't know what to do with myself probably, you know. So switching off is I used to run a lot of marathons actually, but I've not done that for a while, and that was a good time to think. Probably thinking about trying to solve problems, trying to probably come up with another idea or something, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That although, you know, space is nice, whether it's digesting something from a work perspective, whether it's coming up with new ideas, but having that kind of that reading time or that movie time just allows you just to kind of take that step back and
yeah. I think
process.
I think what's important is to be able to have a broad interest in lots of things that you can then get inspired by, you know. So whether as a designer, you know, you don't just look at art, design books, you know, you look at art, you look at movies, you look at everything for inspiration, you know. Yeah, and it's exciting.
You just said something that kind of triggered a thought in my mind was, yeah, you probably like the world around you is inspiring. There's so many things that we perhaps see all the time or take for granted that sometimes we don't recognize it, but in your creative mode, when you're looking for inspiration, it just the space around you, I think, is also important. I
Yeah, I
love
mean, I
your
think
backdrop.
it's taking inspiration, it's taking not so copying or plagiarizing or anything like that, but it can be anything, you know, to make you think about something in a different way or put a couple of things together that don't normally go together, you know. You know, I just last night, I don't know if you saw it, I watched the piano on Channel 4. Have you seen that program?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you must check it out. It's amazing. It's amazing. I won't go into detail now, but it's one to watch. It's just finished actually, the 4-part series. But that was incredibly inspiring. That was incredibly inspiring. That was the basic premise of that was most train stations have a piano in them these days that people can just go up and play. So they went to 4 different cities and got different people to play. And in the background, they had Lang Lang and Mika watching these people play without them knowing. And then they'd introduce themselves afterwards, and then they'd choose one of those people to appear in this special concert at the Royal Festival Hall.
Wow, I've just actually got like
And
shivers.
that when you watch it, you'll have more than shivers. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's very, very emotional. So have a box of Kleenex ready. And there are
No.
other makes and brands.
Love it. No, thank you for sharing that. As you say, there are many things that we can be inspired by. If you were talking with someone that said, "Hey Gary, I'm thinking about starting my own business," what advice would you offer them?
If I was starting again, okay, from scratch, I'd probably find myself a really good financial partner, you know, someone who really knows. I do what I do because I love what I do, okay, and a lot of creative people are a bit like that. They'd almost do it for free, okay. And the most important thing is to value what you do and charge the right amount for it, you know, and really not let people take advantage of you, because a lot of people are taken advantage of and they don't charge enough and they don't really appreciate the value they can add to a company. So that's very, very important. You know, if you're looking to set up a company with lots of people and all the rest of it, I think having a partner who's very good on the financial side of things is, you know, you think of Anita Roddick and people like that, they were these great visionaries and they had partners who looked after the money side of things, you know. So it depends what scale you're looking at, but also you've got to love what you do. And my theory was that if you're really good at something, you'll make money at it. You know, you don't just do it for the money, you know, you've got to do it because you really love it, I think.
And Gary, that's that's something that's kind of hit home with me as well. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And lastly, because I'd love to know this, looking back on your journey so far, What 3 words would you use to sum it up?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. You didn't even email me that question beforehand either.
I always like to have
3
one.
words. Creative. I'd hope to think creative, challenging. I need another C now, don't I? Creative, challenging, and enjoyable. Enjoyable. You've got to have fun. Yeah, and you've got to work with people that you really like too. That's a big thing. That's, you know, you've got to work with people you like, and for clients who you like, you know, so you really go the extra mile for them. You know, you don't want to be working for someone that gives you a hard time, you don't get on with, you know, you've got to get on with people.
I love that. And that reminds me of a phrase of a good friend once said, "We're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time."
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Gary, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience, and good luck to your future success.
Thank you very much. It's been great chatting with you.